I gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. Her face still burned into my vision, cold, calculating, almost triumphant. For 30 years, I stayed silent. For 30 years, I smiled at family dinners, bought gifts for her grandchildren, helped her move when she claimed tragedy struck. But no more. Today, I end this charade. Today, the truth comes out, even if it destroys what's left of this family. Evelyn McCormick never liked me. It was clear from the moment David brought me home for the first time. I wore a simple polka-dot dress, my hair pulled back in a ponytail, while she greeted me in a silk robe, wine glass in hand, as though I were an uninvited guest at her private soiree. Well, she said, David always picks unexpected people. I was 22. She was 48. Between us stood a son who stubbornly believed his mother and wife would one day be friends. He died at 52. We never became friends. But it wasn't just her coldness. It wasn't that she never remembered my birthday or how I took my coffee. It was what she said at his funeral, the day I could barely stand, the world dissolving into tears and ash, when she handed me a small envelope and whispered, "You know he left everything to me, right?" That was the first time I truly saw her not as a mother-in-law, but as an enemy. He left me nothing. Not the house we'd built together over 20 years. Not his vintage watch collection. Not even his favorite jacket, the one he wore every fall. Everything went to her. To me? A note. "I'm sorry I couldn't protect you from her." I didn't cry. I walked away. And ever since, I've lived in a small apartment on the outskirts of town, working as an accountant at a local clinic, growing out the short hair David loved, burning the anniversary flowers he used to give me every spring in the backyard. Until one day I found something in an old family album, a photograph of Evelyn standing beside a man she'd once called an old family friend. But I recognized him. It was Walter Haynes, the attorney who drafted David's will. And on the back of the photo, nearly faded by time, was a date, 3 weeks before David died. That's when I started digging. First, I ordered a copy of the will. Officially, the document was flawless. But I reached out to a former clerk from that law firm, through Facebook, under a fake name. He remembered. "Yeah, Evelyn was in our office a lot that fall. Said her son was losing his memory. That it was time to get everything in order. We did check his competency, but he signed. On his own." But David wasn't losing his memory. A week before he died, he was reading The Atlantic to me, debating tax policy, planning a trip to Lake Tahoe. He had mild asthma, nothing more. No dementia. No mental decline. Then I understood. She'd deceived him. Convinced him I was leaving. That I was unfaithful. That I didn't deserve his legacy. Or maybe she simply swapped the documents while he was hospitalized during an asthma attack. He trusted her. Always. Even when she called me too emotional for serious decisions. Even when she hinted I couldn't give him children. But I wasn't that naive girl in the polka-dot dress anymore. Now I knew how courts worked. How evidence was built. And how long a person could stay silent while gathering rage. I didn't go to court. That would have taken years, and I wanted her to feel it. To wake up every morning wondering, what has she done? To look in the mirror and see not her reflection, but mine, calm, steady, unbreakable. I started small. First, the calls. Not from my number, of course. I bought a burner phone, dialed her at 2 a.m., and just breathed. Then the letters, anonymous, on fine paper, her name written in precise script. You thought it was all forgotten? At first, she assumed it was a prank. Then maybe an old lover retired and seeking revenge. But when I slipped that old photo, the one with Walter Haynes, into her mailbox, she paled. I watched from my car parked across the street. The house. Our house. The porch where David taught me chess. The garden where we planted roses. The garage where he fixed my old Honda Civic. Now she lived there alone, in a 6-bedroom house, with 2 dogs and a maid who came on Tuesdays. She didn't know I still had the key to the shed. That every spring, while she vacationed in Florida, I came and replanted the shrubs the way we used to. That I knew exactly where in the basement his old suitcase of letters was stored. And that one day I'd take it, not for myself, but so she'd understand. The past can't be erased. But the real blow came through her grandchildren. She had 3, 2 from her older son, who died under suspicious circumstances in Chicago, another story, and 1 from her daughter. Michael, her favorite, was studying history at Stanford. He was writing a paper on family conflicts in post-war America. I found his LinkedIn profile, messaged him as a former staffer of the family trust, said I had archival documents about his grandmother's business dealings in the 1980s. He was intrigued. I sent him edited bank records, not forgeries, but real ones I obtained through a contact at the IRS. They showed transfers to Walter Haynes for legal consultation in the exact same month I was cut from the will. My grandmother never told me she had those connections, he said to me once over the phone, not knowing who I was. She always made herself seem flawless. Flawlessness is the best mask for lies, I replied. He started asking questions, first his mother, then his aunt, then Evelyn herself. She denied everything, of course. But doubt had already taken root. And once doubt is planted, it can't be uprooted. A year passed. I watched. Not stalked, just observed. Through social media, neighbors, an old friend of her maid. And increasingly, through Michael. He began distancing himself from his grandmother. Stopped coming to holidays. Stopped replying to her letters. Once, he even wrote an article for the campus paper titled Moral Legacy, What We Leave Behind. No names were mentioned. But I recognized every line. Then something bigger happened. Her daughter, Lindsay, showed up with her husband and told Evelyn plainly, "We don't want our children seeing you this way." Evelyn, of course, erupted. Claimed it was a conspiracy. That someone was out to get her. But no one believed her because I'd vanished into the shadows. Because no one knew I was behind it all. But revenge isn't something that ends when your enemy falls. Revenge is a mirror. And the longer you stare into it, the more you realize you're not the same person anymore. I thought I'd feel relief, joy, satisfaction. But when I saw Evelyn sitting alone on the veranda, clutching a teacup beside an empty chair, I felt emptiness. She'd aged. Her hands trembled. Her eyes had dulled. She was no longer the woman in the silk robe. She was a shadow. And so was I. That's when I understood. I didn't want to destroy her life. I wanted her to see the woman she broke. To see the truth, not through lawsuits or scandals, but through conscience. So I went to her. I rang the doorbell on a Sunday morning. She opened it, wearing an old robe, no makeup, slippers on bare feet. She saw me and didn't scream. Didn't slam the door. Just stared. "You," she said, her voice stripped of venom. Only exhaustion remained. "Yes, it's me," I replied. She stepped aside. I walked in. We sat in the living room. The same couch where David read me Crime and Punishment at night was still there. His framed photo hung on the wall. I couldn't hold back tears. "You orchestrated all of it," she finally said. "The letters. The calls. Michael. It was you." "Yes." "Why?" "Because you took everything from me. Even my memory of him. You made it seem like I never mattered to him. But I did. And I always will." She fell silent for a long time. Then she rose, walked to the dresser, and pulled a folder from the drawer. "Here," she said. "This is the original will. The one he wrote in 2018. You're the heir to everything. Including the watches. The jacket. Even the old boat. But why didn't you give it to me?" "Because I couldn't." Her voice cracked. "Because if I had, I would have admitted he loved you more. That I was always second. My whole life. Since he was a child. He always chose you. Remember when he gave you his bicycle? You fell and broke your arm, and he cried harder than you did. That's no excuse for stealing his final wishes from me. It was the only way to keep a shred of self-respect," she whispered. We sat in silence. Birds sang outside. The house smelled of coffee and aged wood. "What do you want now?" she asked. "I want you to give me the house yourself. Not through lawyers. Not through courts. Right here, right now. And I want you to tell your grandchildren the truth. All of it." She closed her eyes. Nodded. "All right." A week later, she gathered everyone, her daughter, sons-in-law, grandchildren. She read them the original will. Told them how she'd switched the documents. How she'd feared David would leave everything to me. How she couldn't bear the thought that her son had chosen someone over her. Michael stood up and hugged her. Not in judgment. Just hugged her. Then I received the keys to the house. But I didn't move in right away. First, I brought a box of his things, watches, books, letters, and placed them on the dining table. And I said aloud, "I'm back, David. Now I live in that house. But not alone. Evelyn stays in the guest room. We're not best friends. But we're family, or what's left of it. Sometimes, in the evenings, we sit on the veranda, drink tea, stay silent. And in that silence lies more truth than in all the words spoken over the past 30 years. Revenge didn't bring me peace. But truth did. And that's enough."